Hi guys, welcome to Youth Online. My name is Ben and I'm the youth pastor here at Sutton Vineyard. We're really glad that you're with us this evening. So welcome to the August interviews that we're doing that are slightly different to what we've been doing. And this month we are interviewing a youth leader and one of our young people each week on a different topic. And so we really hope that each and every one of these sessions is a real blessing for you. So this evening we're interviewing Hannah and Steve, and they're talking all about identity and acceptance. And so I really hope this is a blessing for you as you engage in what they have to say. Enjoy. Can you tell us a little bit about when you were younger and how your identity may have been affected by people around you?
Well, I was bullied and for about 3 years, hence why I really wanted to go to Brit as well. I got bullied for my looks, for my weight, saying I was called fat, saying like, you're ugly, she got ginger hair, like little things like to my eyes, to my freckles, like everything about me. And it really did affect me, hence like why I've struggled now as I'm older. The past has actually hurt me now, and it's put me in it had put me in a bad position like a couple months back, for about 6-7 months. And I've come out of that now, better and stronger. But yeah, it really did affect me, and people's words affect you a lot more than you think they would. And at the time they don't, but then when it keeps happening, it's constant. And they're constantly saying, you're a neat, you're fat, you're a teacher's pet, like you're ugly. Like it really does affect you mentally, and you don't really notice it until like it constantly like happens. Yeah.
That's great. Steve-O, can you tell us a little bit about when you were younger and how your identity may have been affected by people around you?
Yeah, so I was bullied a lot at school and at home as well. Like I had real hard upbringing right from the start of primary school up till I left at 17. So yeah, again, kids calling me ugly. I was terrible at sport. I was terrible at sport, but it was a massive thing in both of my schools. So it was a real big thing that I couldn't kick a ball straight or couldn't run as fast as the other guys could. I was small as well, and I wore glasses. I had no chance. So yeah, so there's a lot of bullying around, being a bit of a geek, being a bit of a nerd, wearing glasses, being a bit shorter than everybody else, and properly scrawny as well. Yeah, so I was just downtrodden all the time really, and beaten up a load, called all kinds of silly names all the time, all through 12 years of school. Until I left and went to college.
So, are things different now in terms of your identity? And if so, what made the difference?
Things are definitely different now. For me, I think it was finding and learning about my self-love and worth. I feel like that's something that, especially as a young person, as you're growing older, it's something that you need to have, because if you don't love yourself and you don't have that worth for yourself, there's no way you're going to understand and believe everybody else's love for you. You're just going to think it's fake. And without that, every situation and comment that gets thrown at you, it will get you down and get you down and get you down. Whereas now, if a comment's thrown at me, or I've overheard something, now that I do have this self-love and worth, it doesn't affect me as much as it used to. And although it still does, and I still think about what was said to me before, when I was at secondary school, it doesn't really affect me now. And I've sort of come out from that dark place. And obviously there's times when you go back to it, but it's how you get back to where you were. And I feel like now that I'm stronger with the self-love and worth, I'm able to get back out of that darker zone by myself and go back into life with a positive outcome. Yeah.
Steve-O, are things different now? And if so, what made the difference?
Yeah, things are different now, thank goodness. So for me, I started working at a Saturday job when I was 16. And then from there, I met people who weren't at church, who still liked me for being a person. So where before, at home I was getting mugged off, at school I was getting mugged off. At church, I assumed everyone just kind of felt like they had to be good to me because they were Christians, so they didn't really want to be, but they tolerated me because they had to. So when I started working, there were people around who actually seemed to want to spend time with me. That was a massive change, because then I actually started to believe that some people did like me for who I was. And that really then helped me attach more like at church as well, because then I was like, well, this isn't the only place there that people are nice to me, like people are good people. And then at church I kind of got a bit more into like learning about Jesus and God and being able to see that like there was more to life, because I started to believe it more. Because I didn't think, like, I stopped believing that everyone around was a bit fake and started to believe it a bit more authentically as well.
So how has your faith affected you in these areas throughout your life?
For me, it was a rocky path, it was a rocky road. I'd always believed that there was a God, I'd always believed that I could talk to him. I'd always believed that people can talk to him to help me or like situations. But it was hard when I'd go to Soul Survivor or DTI and I'd get prayed for about the bullying and like to be healed and to have these comments like go away in my head and to think positives of it. And then I go to school and the first day back, it's back to normal and it didn't change. And it hurt, especially when like you had been praying so much or like you'd been away for so long, because especially with appendicitis, I was away for so long. I'd been praying like every day. Like my grandma had just died. I'd had like my appendix out like the day after her funeral. Like I was praying so much, and then the first day I get back, I get hit in the belly and told that life was better when I wasn't at school and it was more fun. So that was a big change for me, where I was like, well, I'm praying to you, God, and I'm asking for this, but you're not changing. So that was very rocky then. That was like year 7, I think. But like I said, every Soul Survivor in DTI, it was hard coming back and going back to school, because I'd be so positive. And then school would start and I'd go right downhill again. And I think it hurt me as well, because I felt like I had to change. It started getting better at the end of secondary school because I changed and people started accepting me when I changed. But then I was like, I shouldn't have to change. God should be able to help me in these situations without me having to make other people like me, if that makes sense, and me not be me. But I feel like as I've gotten older, I have seen what he's done. But back then I couldn't see what he's done. And at the same, with now thinking about it, he actually helped me back then getting stronger and getting better with my how I think about myself. And if it wasn't for me getting bullied for those 3 years at my old secondary school, I wouldn't be able to be the person I am now. I wouldn't be as strong. I don't think I'd be able to support other people as much, because I'd be so like in on myself and wanting just to support myself.
Steve, how's your faith affected you in these areas of your life?
So I would have said, like, when I was a teenager and I was going through like the worst parts of it when I was kind of 13, 14, I don't think I really had a faith at all, to be honest. Like, I would have probably, I did call myself a Christian, that's why I got bullied for a bit as well. But yeah, I just said, like, I go to church, I'm a Christian, like, I read the Bible, and I kind of think God probably exists in some way, but he clearly doesn't have any interest in me or what I'm going through, because I'm still going through it. So I had a real issue with believing in like a loving God, who was actually like had my best interests at heart and was looking out for me. I just didn't believe that at all for years. Even it's taken till probably quite recently to actually fully understand how that works. I think when I got like kind of into my late teens and I was like getting really desperate, like I'd sit in bed and I would like be awake at night all night, and then I'd be just raging, and like sometimes I'd kind of try and pray and then just go back to raging at life instead. Sometimes I think maybe God was there a little bit, but I couldn't really work out or understand that it was God or tell that it was God until I got like a little bit older. And I think by the time I was kind of probably like late teens, like 16, 17, I then start praying quite a lot. And even then, if it wasn't changing it wouldn't change anything. It made me feel better just to kind of rage in my head at God rather than trying to deal with it on my own. And I think there was a couple of times where like God definitely showed up in my bedroom, like when I was really, really like low and really struggling with like life and why I exist and what the point of carrying on is. God definitely showed up a few times, and I think once you kind of get a response, you can't help but start to believe a little bit, and then when you get that kind of little bit of a ray of hope, that just gets bigger and bigger then. So I think, without faith I wouldn't be here. But it's taken a long time for me to have like a proper full faith. Like sometimes I have faith when I really need it, and then I kind of forget about God for a little while, and I really need it, and it comes back again. But now I think it's much more constant and level.
All right. So, finally, is there a way you connect with God best? Tell us about it and how it affects you.
For me, I just love listening to worship music, and that's always been a thing for me. Like, I've always loved worship. That's been such a big part of my life. Like my train journeys to Brit, because when I was at CCC, I didn't walk. I walked to school, so I wasn't by myself. So listening to that kind of music, I couldn't do because I was around everyone. And that was one thing for me, actually. I never got bullied for my Christianity, which I was actually really shocked with. And so were my family, because that was one thing that I didn't get bullied with. When people talk about their faith to like their people at school, that is something that people do generally get bullied about. But I just felt not comfortable like listening to my music when I'm with everyone. But since being at Brit, I've listened to that music on my train journeys there and back. And it's just a good start to the day. Like even if I wake up in a bad mood, I'll make sure I listen to worship music. And depending on my mood and how I want to be for the rest of the day and what's happening in the day, I'll either listen to like really like upbeat like worship music, or I'll listen to like the more calming worship music. And that's how I connect most, because sometimes God will connect with you without you knowing, but then you'll see something throughout the day and you go, actually, wait, I thought I connected with him earlier, and this is the reason why he connected with me earlier, because this has just happened later on in the day, if that makes any sense whatsoever. But yeah, worship music is how I connect most with God.
Steve, is there a way you connect best with God? Tell us about it and how it affects you.
So there's a couple of things for me. I think I love worshiping in a room full of people who are worshiping. I flipping love like just seeing the Holy Spirit moving with people as they're like worshiping and singing, and that like helps me really connect. And then praying as well, like praying in a group or praying on your own. But I flipping love like just praying with people, like people who are struggling, people who are having a hard time. Like I love watching God move like in people's lives. And like the best way of doing that is to pray with them.
That's great. Quality.
Guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to us and watching along with us. So let's just pray to finish off. So God, we thank you that for us too, like we can sit here and look back and say like, yeah, you were with us when we were struggling, Lord. I thank you that you are a God that turns up when we struggle, and you do help us. And yeah, you're an active God that looks out for us, Lord. And I thank you for that, and for the love that you show us even when we don't understand it or don't realise it. And Lord, for our young people, Lord, for people watching this who are struggling, Lord, I pray for them, and I pray that you would give them the courage to find someone to help them out, Lord. Give them the courage to talk to you, and to know when it is you that's responding to them, Lord, and what you want them to do. Amen.